Hey guys, yesterday I did a quick impromptu stream that was really spontaneous. My goal initially was to do like a little half-hour thing talking about what had broke the night before, the news that it broke with Kespa and Pro League, and cut that stream up and post it here on YouTube and use that as kind of a please pause opinion piece type thing. But it turned into a lot more than that. I streamed for several hours, like 3 hours or something like that, and I turned the show into a live call-in talk show. And some people who are actually pretty cool called in. You know, we were using the R Starcraft Discord, and they gave their opinions. The team managers for Team Revolution, Flipside Tactics, and Elevate all came on, gave their thoughts. First was Rezwan from Team Revolution, and then we had Jason and Michael from Elevate and Flipside Tactics on at the same time. So I wanted to cut this up. I wanted to put it up for you as quickly as I could. I've got a lot of stuff coming for you guys in the coming weeks. I'm going to have more interviews as quickly as possible. I know this is a really tumultuous time, but I'm pretty happy with everything that I'm doing right now. I've got so much on my plate. It's a little overwhelming, if anything. So keep your eyes peeled. If you're not already subbed to the YouTube channel, if you're not already following me on Twitter and Twitch, then you should go do that because stuff's happening and it's pretty cool, I think. Thank you guys for watching. Here's the conversations. First, we have the Team Revolution manager, and then we've got Flipside and Elevate on at the same time a little bit later. Thank you so much. Part
Hey.
Revenge got your pass. Oh, hey, man. Hey.
I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of your show is. I just tuned in, so what's up?
You know what? This is really, really impromptu, so I'm not exactly sure the purpose. I just wanted to do like a half-hour talk about what happened, and then things got snowballed, and now I don't want to close it off because I've got things going on, like viewership stuff. So
I
here we
see.
stand. So you're the team manager for Team Revolution, is that correct?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Is there any way that you can like send a tweet out to verify that? If you were to tweet at me at Cyan Esports, that would be dank.
Um, okay, sure. Just give me a second.
Ryan SC2. Wouldn't the low social following be caused by Kespa's strict rules? Yeah, I guess we're gonna have a chat about this.
Is it
Ooh.
Cyan Esports, right?
Yeah. Same as the Twitch channel.
I think that should have gone through now. Just have
But
a
you
look.
just tell me. Oh yeah, I got a notification. I'm sure it's you. Based. All right. Confirmed. All right. So we have the team manager for Team Revolution. That's awesome. So if you don't mind, can you just say what you were saying in chat again for the listening audience?
Yeah, so obviously all these players that have not now become teamless, like everyone's under the impression that foreign teams will just swoop in and pick them up, but it's really hard to justify when like sponsors care about so many different things. So like while some of them will care about achievements that like Zest, Innovation, or DY have, some of them will care more about like Twitter followers and Twitch numbers and things like that. So it really comes down to which team has the sponsors which care about them. Do you know what I mean? Because for us personally, we don't get any incentive for having players with achievements at the moment.
So having said that, when I think about like the players who are now free agents, and to me it keeps coming back to Zest because Zest is to me like the most marketable Korean in
Right.
2016. Like he's really good looking. He's done friggin' modeling shoots. He's basically a meme. He's well, maybe not quite now, like in October, but for most of this year, he was the best player in the world. He's got the championships. Even though he doesn't have a really strong social media presence, is someone like a Zest, someone who you could go to the sponsors and be like, hey, this guy doesn't have the followers yet, but we can basically guarantee that you know he's going to get
Yeah,
them.
I mean, like with like good. Don't get me wrong. With players like that, we'd probably try to like approach them and see what they want first. And then we'd go to sponsors and see if they liked X player. But personally, like, I don't even... Does Zest have a Twitter? I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's like, it's really important.
No, I completely understand.
Like, even relating to Twitch, you need to relay your numbers from your social medias. Like, that's how your stream grows, by like retweeting and tweeting out before you stream and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maintain a following.
Absolutely makes sense. So, like, again, the hero pickup makes a lot more sense now than maybe it did when it was announced to me. What are your intentions with Hero in particular as a team? Like, what are you going to send him to any tournaments, or is he kind of a stream fixture for you now, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, he really wants to play in tournaments abroad, and we're very happy for him to do so. But if Blizzard doesn't remove the region lock, we won't drop a 3K for a P1 athlete visa. Like, it doesn't make sense for us.
Okay, cool.
But if region lock was removed, we'd definitely fly players over to foreign tournaments and see how they do.
Interesting. So, as a team who has a Korean player and potentially interest in other Korean players, you're based outside of Korea. What's the path in your mind? What should WCS look like? Should it be region locked? Should it stay the way it is? Should it not be region locked? What do you think?
I hate the region lock. I just don't think it should exist. Like, I understand the perspective that foreigners aren't winning shit like previous years, but like, it's really hard for me to say because like I was there at DreamHack Valencia watching Ricard get third place. Maybe if there were Koreans there, he would have got like 16th or something. I don't know, but like, me personally, I don't think region lock should be there. I think it should be a system where maybe, I don't know, like maybe on and off, like you play some tournaments in Korea, play some abroad, like have a GSL still.
You would
just Korea.
You would like the system that was like initially pitched with the global events as well as the WCS circuit events. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like I think it was 2013. I think that was like the dream year. I think, but
2013.
I think was it 13? I don't know. The one where they had WCS as the main thing, and then their DreamHacks where Koreans could attend and stuff.
I guess 2013 or 2014. Sure. Probably 2014 is what you mean, but at that point, WCS was not region locked. So what happened was the top 8 of WCS America was almost all Korean. And the people who weren't Korean were Snoot and Moonblade, who were not from the region that they were playing. So to kind of follow up on that, so you don't like the region lock. Is that you speaking as team manager and somebody on the back end of Team Revolution, or is that you speaking as more of a fan?
It's a bit of both, to be honest with you, because as a team owner, it's better for us to have our players have as much screen time as possible, right?
Yeah.
Because that'll please sponsors. Because it's as much as having like 30k viewers on one stream to appeal to your sponsors is good. You can also have like continuous Twitch streams, which is also good. But you know, like not all Korean players stream, so it would be advantageous to have them fly over and have some stream time and then go back to Korea. But as a fan also, I'd say it's just better to see, I don't know, the Korean foreign rivalry, in my opinion.
So let's pretend that tomorrow WCS 2017 is announced, and it's no longer region locked. It's totally free, you know, and all the Koreans can play whatever events they can attend, right? And we see a shift where we go back to foreign players not really reaching top 8s and seldom reaching top 16s. So currently on your roster, unless Liquipedia is mistaken, Firecake and Sort of are listed. Are they currently members of Team Revolution? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would hope so, because that would be really big news that I missed. Would you keep Firecake and Sort of, two players who really broke through this year in WCS in the current system, would you keep them in Team Revolution if they weren't getting the tournament results that they are currently?
I mean, I think Rickard prefers to play against Freeland. I might be wrong on that, but
But despite like, regardless of what the players themselves may prefer, would they still have a spot on the team if they weren't making these deep runs in tournaments?
That's a very hard question, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, we'd probably keep Rickard regardless, but I don't know if Fighkick's not really competitively active.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really say, because this year he's taken a break, I think, for his eyes or wrists or something.
Right.
So I couldn't really answer that, but like I think we'd still keep Rickard, because there's always qualifiers which are based only for Europeans and things like that. So there's always a chance for him to make a good run.
Cool. Interesting. All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to raise in the conversation?
No, I just honestly hope Blizzard get on it and remove the fucking region lock so we can do something.
Well, although I disagree, you're certainly not alone, and it's really interesting to hear someone like
think
yourself.
it should be kept region locked?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think my dream situation is for them to bring back Studio WCS the way that it was in 2014 and region lock that, like really region lock that, and then let the third-party tournaments do whatever the hell they want.
Right.
But
I think the thing you haven't really considered is, like, organizers like DreamHack, they get most of their funding from Blizzard, likely. I might be overstepping by saying that, but if they were suddenly told to do whatever they want, what if they suddenly just drop StarCraft 2, you know?
Well, the way that I understand it is that in 2015, the sponsors for these tournaments came to them and they're like, oh, hey, we have this much money. We're going to give this to you, and we want it to be spent on this event, this event, this event. And then the tournament organizers, like the DreamHacks per se, were like, okay, well, we also want to host StarCraft. And they were like, well, StarCraft's not really doing what we want it to be doing. So, I mean, okay, but, something got changed. So then the tournament organizers went to Blizzard and said, listen, like, we can't keep on like it's going right now. Something's got to, we've got to change this. And tournament organizers were not interested in hosting unregion locked events. So, and this kind of ties into like the crux of the issue for me. If the people who make money in the scene don't want it, then it's not good. We have to do something, right? We have to change it. So that's where my viewpoint comes from. But I respect everybody who says no, region locking's bad.
I honestly, I don't know if you heard my first bit. I like a mix of it. So like instead of, so like similar to, was it 2014, 2013? I think that's what I want. But I don't really have much else to say unless you want to ask me anything.
No, I think I think you contributed a lot to the conversation. It's good to have the other perspective as well. I think so far it's mostly been me talking about why I think region locking is good. Well, when region locking has been coming up today. So I really appreciate your input. And obviously, as somebody who actually has money invested into the, has a real heavy stake, it's really important to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide some insight, because I see people and they make the presumption that, oh, these players are really good, so they must get a team right. It's not necessarily true, but it can be, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for talking to me. I need to go do some stuff, so I'll leave you to it, yeah?
All right, cheers, dude. Thanks a lot.
All right, no problem. See you later. Take care.
What's up?
What's up, dude? We got Cav, Jason, and Yames hanging out.
What's up, buddy?
If you guys are cool...
I'm in City, team manager of Team Elevate.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow. Can you just tweet at me real quick and just verify that?
Sure.
I would like to have everything troll-free today. Wow, guys. Holy shit.
I think I tweeted at you earlier, but I work with Flipside.
Yeah, I recognize you from Twitter actually.
There, I tweeted hi.
Awesome, dope. Give you a follow there too. Okay, so um, Cav and Jason, both pretty experienced guys. Start with you, Jason, because you just spoke up first, so screw it. What are your thoughts on the Kespa situation now? Is Elevate going to look for some Korean talent, or what are your thoughts overall?
I mean, the one weird situation that it put us in, that's relevant, kind of, is that we were like potentially looking at sending Masa to Korea over the off season to have him train. Now that he's playing full time, we thought that like it would make more sense that if he's gonna commit himself to playing the game full time, and that it would make more sense to him play full time in Korea in a better environment.
Right.
So obviously, there's like some things that changed now, right? I mean, we weren't necessarily looking at putting him in a Kespa team house, but it was something that like, or not like a Kespa team house, but like probably like MVP or one of the newer Kespa teams. So like that's looking like less of an option, obviously, and we also don't know the climate of what exactly Korean StarCraft is going to look like, even on ladder. If these changes are going to turn a lot of current pros to play different games, like for all you know, the Korean ladder is going to like. It's already kind of like people have already been saying it's been slowly declining because the pro league players have been playing it less, like Kespa players. So I think you could only look at this as being like it's gonna only get worse because more and more like pros are gonna retire, right? So I mean, at this current situation, like how it's relevant to like our organization is that like we were like pretty set on sending him to Korea, but now I think we're like assessing it again and seeing how it looks, like how exactly it would actually benefit him.
Yeah, I think it's worth still considering.
Yeah, I mean, we're like, because obviously this news like is relatively new, and like I only briefly talked to Masa today because he was like, oh, like what do we do now, right? Because like even like he's the one who he wants to go to, and we want him to go, but even he is like kind of having second thoughts about it.
So two things really quickly. Holy Moly in chat says, for SC2 Pro League, the players didn't even play ladder. It was all custom game practice. So that doesn't really hurt ladder so much. The retirements are the things that will affect the ladder. Just want to...
Yeah, I mean, you heard like me talking about it, and people like you can just talk about like how a lot of more foreign players are getting into GM, and they just found that the ladder was a lot more easier than it's been in previous seasons because very few top players have been playing on Korean ladder. So yeah, the top players, like it doesn't like they weren't playing on a ladder anyways, right? But you're gonna have like a lot more of the B teamers or like the middle tier people who are still playing on the ladder, who are still like we're in these team house environments that like now honestly like I don't see any motivation that they'd have to continue playing StarCraft as a whole.
Right.
We also don't know what Blizzard's gonna do on the Korean side of things. Like again, there's so much uncertainty because we don't know what the circuit looks like next year.
So how much of the uncertainty with the decision to send Masa to Korea is based in the idea that there might not be a team house, there might not be anywhere for him to stay, and how much of it is based in like how worthwhile it may be? Because it seems like one of those is a really glaring immediate issue, and the other one is like, I don't know, you know? Yeah,
I mean, the original like idea, it was obviously going to depend on the On Fire house in Korea that Scarlet, Neeb, and No Regret were staying at.
Okay.
That was going to be the obvious option, and we were going to explore that. The team house option was like something that we were still looking at, and I think honestly, Masa City was more comfortable living with like Scarlet. So
makes sense.
In terms of an actual like logistics standpoint, like that's not the big thing. Like the big thing right now is us considering if like it's still like worth it.
Right.
Like that's kind of more where we're at right now.
Okay, very interesting. So, Cav, gonna pull you in here.
Hi.
Same questions. Cav, former team manager for Flipsid Tactics, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm still with them.
Oh, you're still... Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all right. We've kind of pulled out of StarCraft, and it was like a really tough decision. It's not something that I'm happy about. So this doesn't really affect us at all. We do still have some streamers. We have, Mechanic streaming with us right now. But this decision by Kespa doesn't particularly just surprise me given kind of the climate over there right now and the numbers we're seeing with League and Overwatch.
So speak to that a little bit. if you can give more of a team insider perspective, I think most people are aware of the numbers, but as someone who deals with the back end of esports, what kind of signs did you see that kind of led you to believe that it was coming to an end?
I mean, the decline in viewership and the rise of other titles, essentially, really like the lifeblood of most esports organizations is the sponsorship income, and we have to kind of go into the markets that our sponsors are interested in. And with the the growth of Rocket League and CS:GO and the fighting game community, especially, that's kind of the direction that our sponsors wanted us to go in. And really, because of that, we weren't able to offer. We recently let Puck and Bales go, and we really weren't able to offer them the money that I would have liked to pay them, or that I really, quite frankly, think that they deserve. So it wasn't really necessarily my choice to leave that space. I really would love to be able to come back.
So question to both of you. We just had the team manager for Team Revolution on, and he spoke about how he personally really wants the region lock to be over and done with. What are each of your thoughts on the region lock, and what would you hope for in WCS 2017 when that is announced? Jason, start with you.
I mean, in this situation, if you're like, hey, like we want to protect StarCraft 2 esports as a whole, I think taking out region locking just to save Korean StarCraft is not necessarily a bad idea. You're going to see, perhaps, this is like all hypothetical, right? You're going to see maybe foreign teams, like there's value in picking up Korean players and supporting them and supporting their careers to continue in StarCraft, because then they can travel overseas and play and like dominate these tournaments like we saw in previous years. So that instantly adds value to these players that are kind of like, whatever you say, like out of a job, to foreign teams. So obviously, if you're trying to like protect Korean StarCraft, that's definitely good. I mean, I think I'm biased. I mean, because from a neutral standpoint, I see why viewers like hated the system, and there's limited interaction, and it seemed like there's a lot of free money for the foreign community. But I mean, like managing a foreign team, it was really good. And I mean, we saw like the growth and development of a lot of foreign players this year because they were able to compete at a high level, able to commit a lot of time, knowing that like they see return on their investment, like in time. And I mean, Neba's a prime example. I mean, I don't know if you want to say it as like an off case, but like I enjoy the format as it is currently because I mean, for my players, it provides a lot of room for them to grow and a lot of room for them to develop and have motivation to do so. But if we're talking about, like protecting Korean StarCraft, having it be open again would obviously like help it a lot. But there's a lot that we can hypothesize about. But
so
I'm really interested to see how exactly Blizzard treats, like what exactly Blizzard does for Korean StarCraft for the next year, given these changes.
So to kind of like summarize, as a fan and trying to be unbiased, you can understand why unlocking the scene would be good, but as a team owner, you would prefer for it to be locked. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very fair reflection because, I definitely love to see Koreans coming back over here and competing, and I definitely don't want to see like top Korean players that like I really love, like, just retire, right? But I mean, at the other standpoint, obviously, like if the Koreans like come over to our tournaments over here, like we're gonna see foreign players' results decline, and like gonna see them out of the money and stuff like that, and that's not something I want to see either. So
right,
it's kind of a bit of both. It depends like which side I'm kind of taking.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, Cav, just I wanted to bring you in there. What are your thoughts on region locking, and what are your hopes for 2017 as a member of Flipside?
I mean, I'm really a big fan of. It's tough. As a fan, I love open competition. I love watching the best games possible. Sorry, dealing with a little bit of bronchitis. Okay. I'm a huge fan of just seeing the highest level of play that we can see. But my background, I spent the last 4 years working in North American StarCraft 2 and North American esports. So I really like the idea of global and regional events. I think that's really the way to go. It's a happy middle ground for fans and sponsors and teams. But I just don't know that Blizzard is going to continue to give StarCraft 2 the attention that it really needs right now. I like to really hope they do. I don't have any kind of really insider knowledge to say one way or another, but just kind of given the trend that we've seen in the kind of too much too late we're seeing from Blizzard right now with this last patch of monetization, for example. If this patch had come out in the beginning or middle of Heart of the Swarm, we would be having a completely different conversation right now. I think that the ecosystem for teams would be much healthier. So it's hard to do anything besides speculate.
Interesting. So let's go to Fantasyland really quickly here. If WCS Studio League were to come back, and that would be region locked, and then they open up the third-party tournaments to do whatever the hell they wanted to do. To me, as like a spectator and theory crafting what would be good, that seems like a dream situation. Would you guys agree with that? Is that like the best thing that could happen in your minds?
I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like that's like your ideal situation is having like a healthy amount of both. But I mean, at this current state, like I don't think that's attainable, right? Like that would require so much investment. That would require like so many more events and like so much more money at the end of the day, right? Like that's like
that is very true,
obviously your ideal is to have a very like good amount of both, in which it's sustainable for both parties, right? But then if you think about it in the same way, right? You have region lock leagues and you'd have open tournaments, right? So that's what the foreign community would get, but what the Koreans are losing is their consistent like event, right? Because we don't really know what GSL and SSL plans are for next year either.
Right.
So like again, a lot of it is dependent on what Blizzard wants to do with Korean StarCraft next year. Like, because with Pro League gone, right, and with the teams gone, right, if GSL and SSL stays, like you're still gonna have a decent amount of player base, because if it's the exact same format, there's still a lot of money to be won. There's still like enough money to be won for top players to be like, I still like have a lot of time that I should be dedicating to this game because I can, like, I can profit like a pretty decent amount. So if that stays the same, then we might still have you're gonna see a drop off, but there's still gonna be like Korean StarCraft is not gonna be completely dead, right?
Right.
But we have no idea what exactly is gonna happen there.
So, total hypothetical. Cav, Flipside, Jason, Elevate. What would it take for your organizations to invest more into StarCraft 2 next year? Like, what is that even like a realistic thing at this point from where you're standing?
No. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but that's just not where my team personally is. I'm not saying that there aren't investment opportunities in StarCraft 2 for next year, but kind of given the business model and the spaces that we're looking to work in, I personally don't think that I will be working with RTS players anytime soon. I think the next time that non-Korean RTSs will have the kind of numbers that we need to compete with kind of our other divisions, and the numbers that we're seeing there is going to be in Warcraft 4 one day, because I just think that StarCraft 2 dead game is such a played out thing, and that's not what I mean, but I think it was In Control who said it's kind of in its golden years.
I think that's fair. What about you, Jason?
I mean, here's like the thing that's missing, right? Like, they can only do so much now that the game is declining, right? Like, you need certain things to spark certain things, right? So like a new expansion will spark a certain terms of upward trend, right? But if you have this downward, regardless of what they might do for announcing new tournaments or for us, the community, doing whatever, there's very little that we can do that sparks such a huge push to like reverse the trend. So unless there's some ridiculous amount of involvement from Blizzard's side, let's say, if you were saying about that regulated league with daily broadcast, if they put out the investment and do that and push it like crazy, right? Because, like they do have a decent amount of pull. Unless they do something that incites like this upward trend, right? Like doing that in relation to heavily marketing the fact that the game is now free to play. Like this is just like completely hypothetical.
Right.
But that's something that you could like process in your mind that could see, StarCraft kind of going on a bit of an upward cycle. But the thing is right now, like viewership isn't terrible, right? Like it's not completely awful if you compare it to other esports that there are sponsors investing. But the difference is that sponsors and teams can recognize the fact that these other games are at similar viewership levels, but they're going up, right? They're new games. they have an upward trend. There's large player bases. The player base is increasing, right? But if you look at StarCraft, right, the trend is downwards. It's not that their viewership isn't necessarily there in comparison to other, top games. It's just the fact that sponsors and teams can recognize the fact that, it's on the decline, and also that the game has been out for a while. So,
Right.
advertisers are already experimented with the space, have seen what they've been able to do, seen that they'd either like it or they haven't liked it, or they can look at other success or, failure stories of sponsors investing in the sphere. So unless something radically changes that will like spark interest from both teams and sponsors, that they're like, hey, this is new, so we have more confidence in investing in the scope because we think that's going up, or we think that like this opportunity is different than when we invested in StarCraft in the past, then it's really hard for either a team or a sponsor to kind of think that it's worth their time, basically. So like, unless something needs to radically change for it to kind of go on an upward trend for investment to increase from an outside perspective, or
Right.
else it'll kind of just be on this slow decline at where it is right now.
So I did have a question. I think you've pretty solidly answered it. Something that I've always noted. Well, something that I've noted for the past like 2 years. I mean, talking about Flipside not looking to get back into StarCraft 2. Cav, you say Flipside probably not going to deal with any RTS in probably a while. And then to me, I go and I look at the roster for Flipside, and you guys have people in Crossfire, in Rocket League, and I think, well, that's kind of weird. But I guess, Jason, you really just addressed that pretty solidly. It's an expectancy for growth. And Elevate has a Smite team. So is that really what it comes down to? Even though StarCraft is more storied and might have a larger viewership than like a Rocket League or a Smite, the player base is bigger and there's more potential in the eyes of a team and sponsors? Is that the deal breaker?
I mean, absolutely. I always kind of refer to StarCraft 2 and just StarCraft esports in general as kind of like a legacy esport, something to be respected. It's something that, it's where I got the start to my career now.
Right.
But it really is the trends that Jason's talking about. And you can say like, oh, Rocket League, this and that. But I mean, Rocket League's growth has been astronomical, and it doesn't really show any signs of stopping. We were lucky enough to get in on the ground floor, and we picked up, what I would argue would be one of the top 2 teams in the world. And the relative value that we're able to lock those guys in for compared to what we would have to pay to lock in, a top 20 Korean, it just, there's no, the margins of return right there don't make any sense. So it is a business, and I think that's something that we as a community, we as a StarCraft community kind of lose sight of that.
Absolutely.
Because we're such a tight-knit community, and it's hard to think that dollars and dimes can come between me and you. But at the end of the day, the esports organizations that are going to be successful and the ones that are going to be here 10, 15, 20 years from now are the ones who aren't afraid to make those business decisions, as much as it might hurt.
Absolutely.
And I hate how cold that sounds, but that's just life.
No, that absolutely. You guys are in it to make money, and anybody that's not aware of that is a little naive. Really quickly, last point that I can think of. Talking about potential and sponsor expectations and team expectations and player size, what do you guys think of the Overwatch esports scene right now, and is it something that you think your organizations are going to invest in, or does something need to change? Does something need to be announced before that leap is taken? Jason, you want to start? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. So Overwatch is something that we dabbled in the beta. So basically what you saw happening in the beginning is there's a huge, I mean, you could still argue that it's there right now, but even in the beta, there was a huge bubble in terms of what it was expected, what its expectancy was. So basically, large teams were, in my opinion, significantly overpaying to secure talent. Like they're paying close to what your Counter-Strike, your Dota, those
an
type of
opposite
ranges
problem from the Rocket League situation that was just raised then.
Mm-hmm. So because they basically were just banking on the fact that, and I'm not saying that they were wrong at all, because obviously saw player base was like through the roof in the first week and stuff like that.
Right.
But basically there was this huge bubble that was created in which before viewership and before sponsorship investment was in, that teams were like that this bubble was created in terms of salaries and what players are expecting and things like this. And what we're seeing right now, and what I'm seeing right now, is that tournaments are now starting to happen, because this was way back in the beta that this bubble was already created. So now we're seeing now that the tournaments are happening and stuff like this. So there's been a lot of hype because this is the first time, like, Korean League, foreign teams going over. Like, that's always really cool. But I feel like viewership hasn't been great for what I've noticed. Like, it's always like tapped off below 50K, if I'm not mistaken, which is like low numbers for what teams are paying out and what sponsors are expecting. The one problem it has right now is that it's not a great spectator game, in my opinion. And I love playing the game, but I don't think that it's great from a spectator standpoint. And you have the same thing with E-League. I've heard like rumors that like they're not happy with the numbers and they're thinking about not pursuing it after if the numbers continue where they are right now.
That's interesting.
So this bubble right now, like Blizzard needs to step in at some point, and I've heard rumors that Blizzard want to do a regulated league with, like something similar to like LCS style. Like I don't know if that's like true at all. But
I've heard that.
At some point they need to step in, because this bubble is going to burst if sponsorship and teams are investing and the return isn't like equivalent. So at some point Blizzard or someone needs to step in, because it's expectant. It's like not meeting its expectations, and the investment is like not like seeing the same amount of returns. And if something doesn't happen soon, I feel like there's going to be like a huge issue.
Cav, your thoughts?
I'm pretty much in complete agreement with Jason. I think, we're both in agreement that the game is incredibly fun. The numbers have been good, not great. It as a spectator experience, it definitely lacks. Like when Flipside was playing E-League for CSGO, I was able to, show my girlfriend. She doesn't follow esports at all, but, we went out to Buffalo Wild Wings and she was able to understand what was going on within 3 or 4 rounds. When we sat down and tried to watch the Atlantic Showdown, it really didn't go as well. It's so flashy. There's so much stuff popping at you, especially when a team like runs in and everyone ults. There's just a lot going on. And if you don't have that game knowledge, it can be a little overwhelming. It is something we're incredibly interested in. We did dabble in it during the beta as well, and it just kind of didn't pan out. We were in talks with a couple different teams, and then a lot of VC money came in. And I think that kind of affected the bubble that it's in. But I will say that we're talking to lots of different teams. We're talking to different investors. It's something that we're super, super interested in. We're just not going to pull the trigger until it makes fiscal sense.
Cool. All right. Awesome, guys. Is there anything that either of you wanted to raise about esports in general, StarCraft in general, or Korean StarCraft?
I think I saw it was PCH who tweeted it earlier, actually, but this is definitely the most important time to support your favorite streamer, your favorite team, whoever. Go buy a jersey, go sub to someone. The StarCraft community needs your love right now. So put your money where your mouth is. That's all I can really say.
Jason?
Yeah, I was going to echo a similar sentiment. Like, honestly, like, if you're like, hey, how can I personally help the StarCraft scene? How can I personally like get my favorite player signed? Like how can I help, foreign community, Korean community? All you need to do really is just support that player. If it makes sense to us, right? Like if your favorite streamer starts to get 500 viewers concurrent, right? That means that they provide value to an organization and then they'll get signed, right? And that's something that you can personally do for them, watch their stream, sub to them, show them support, tweet it out, do stuff like that for your community. Like that is stuff that like it's like there's so much stuff on the community about people being like, like I want to help, but it's really simple, honestly. Like you just need to make it make sense for teams and for sponsors. And honestly, like you were like the community is the catalyst for stuff like that, right? So just continue to support it in that way, and that's basically your best bet.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate the insight and the knowledge that you guys bring to the table here. I think it's really important to hear from people in the back end, like it's not something that we get a lot of the time, but it's so important in my opinion. So Cav of Flipside Tactics, at CavThinks, go follow him on Twitter, and Jason of Team Elevate, at I am Jason Pun. Thanks guys, thanks so much for tuning in and giving some knowledge.
Thanks for having us, man.
No worries, man. It was a pleasure, honestly.
All right, cheers, boys.
Take care.
Take care.